When this car came out, I have this like, it's in my office, but it's a brochure that came out, and when it came out, it was the fastest four-door car in America. So my name's Jordan. I have a 98 BMW M3, it's an E36. So the mods I've done in this car, there's quite a few. It's full bolt-on, larger intake, bigger MAF, the bigger intake manifold, injectors, wheels, tires, it's on stance coils, exhaust, gosh, a lot of stuff. But those are the main things. So when I first kind of started getting into cars, being an enthusiast, was when I got my first car. It was a 79 Datsun 510. And I quickly realized that cars were a lot more than just something you use to drive where you're going. They can be an escape, they can be somewhere you take a trip in it and all that stuff. And I just really kind of realized that motoring in general was a really fun thing on top of using it as a point A to point B kind of thing.
My name is Walter, and this is a 1998 E38 750IL. Very high spec. It's probably the highest spec factory 750IL that survives in North America right now from this generation. V12 engine, 300-ish horsepower, really good for 1998, but I probably wouldn't be drag racing any Honda Odysseys right now because you're going to lose. From stock, I've added an Alcantara headliner. I've added rear fold-down tables, picnic tables. Now, exterior-wise, I have done a little bit more. I've added a full AC Schnitzer kit, AC Schnitzer 19-inch wheels, staggered front and rear, AC Schnitzer mufflers, and there's a center resonator to lead so that you can actually hear the V12. Oh, and I also added the AC Schnitzer pinstriping, so it's basically a complete AC Schnitzer car.
I'm Steve Myers. I happen to be a BMW enthusiast. I've got 5 BMWs currently. This is a 2000 E39 M5. This is an F06 M6. This is a 1991 E31 850, 2008 E92 M3, and a 2005 E46 M3. I became a car enthusiast when I was a little kid reading the Saturday Evening Post, and they had all kinds of pictures of cars. I mean, it's a long since defunct magazine, but I had a love for cars very early on and decided that I was going to get as many as I possibly could.
You can say that I'm more of a car enthusiast than specifically a BMW enthusiast. I really like this car because, I mean, in my opinion, it's a very timeless design. This one is the last really timeless design of the BMW 7 Series before it became, bloated.
No, so the first BMW, always loved them. So I remember like in high school, my rich friends had a BMW, like, it was his dad's BMW. And they were just cool cars, like they always looked cool, super like, before their time kind of styling. But yeah, this was my first BMW, and this has definitely spurred a passion for loving them and loving all sorts of cars like them. So I think the thing that really made the M3 or even just BMW stand out in that time frame is they handled better than any other car you could really get. So like the Mercedes at the time had power and it was more luxury. Audi at the time was all-wheel drive, and that's what they had going for them, but they never really felt like you were driving an almost race car. So for me, all the cars I've driven from this type of era, it feels like you're driving a car that's meant to be driven.
I think going back to about 1984 when the E30 came out, I happened to be in a dealership and I just liked the look of it. But by the time I got to buying one in 1985, the E28, I thought it was kind of an ugly car, but by God, it drove like a dream. So it kind of gives credence to the ultimate driving machine. And these cars, they all drive differently. They've all got different driving characteristics. Probably the car that I like to drive the most is the E39 M5.
I don't think BMW deserves the reputation of being a money pit. But, and this is a big but, I think that's only up until maybe 2004, 2005. A lot of things on the newer cars, you have to take to the dealer to get coated. You replace a battery, you have to coat it to the car, so you either have the proper equipment or you're stuck going to the dealer and paying dealer prices. And that can become a very large money pit.
The term BMW and money pit is, there definitely is certain cars that have that reputation more than others, like the E60 M5, they just are horrible. The bottom ends go on those really quick. This car specifically has been decent. But I would say yes, simple answer, they kind of are a money pit. But I think that's why people buy them. I mean, it's a status thing. A lot of the times people buy them to be, look what I got. So if you're just gonna whine about them being expensive, why'd you get it in the first place? So.
If you've got cars with high mileage, you're going to spend money to keep them going. If you've got cars with lower mileage, probably not.
But with proper preventative maintenance, you can eliminate most of them. And that's one thing most people here in North America don't do. We don't tend to do preventative maintenance. We just fix things as they break on cars. And usually with these cars, if you just defer maintenance to the point where you can't drive the car anymore, and then you take it to the mechanic, he's going to hit you with a $5,000 bill, and then suddenly BMW gets that reputation. But it's more a lack of proper ongoing maintenance than it being an actual money pit.
Overall ownership is awesome. I've only had 2 times where it's been down, like broken, where I couldn't drive it. But besides that, it's been just like an amazing car. Always fun. It's never been like annoying, like, you know, even in traffic or anything like that. So yeah, overall ownership is a pretty fun car.
The overall ownership experience on the 750 has been quite smooth, surprisingly smooth. I've been stranded, I think, only once, and that was mostly my fault. There was a leak in the cooling system. I knew there was a leak in the cooling system, and I figured I could, you know, push it another couple weeks. As it turns out, I could not push it a couple of weeks. The hose blew, took out the belts, and, you know, off to the shop I go.
What causes me to ignore the financial drain on these cars? If you're going to drive these cars, you've got to have the financial wherewithal to drive them. But as I mentioned before, because most of these cars are low mileage, I probably have yet to feel the brunt of it. But in that I've got as many cars as I do, I probably don't put more than a couple thousand miles on each one all year. So I basically have decided that I like these cars. I'm going to keep them, and whatever it takes to spend money on, that's the way it is.
At the end of the day, when I look at what I've spent on it versus the fun I get, it's cheaper than mostly other forms of entertainment. I mean, I could go to the bar every Friday and, you know, get drunk and spend $200 and $250, and, you know, that's like $1,000 a month. It's more like I've spent on this car maybe 8,000, 9,000 Canadian, and that's including all the modifications that I've done, all the upgrades that I've done. Like, what does that money get you? What does 9,000 Canadian dollars get you? That will get you a 2012 Honda Civic, maybe, and then, you know, kind of lower mileage one in Canada, and then you get a Civic, and then you hate yourself every single time you drive it because it's gutless, it has no power. If you get into an accident, you're probably going to die because somebody's going to run you over with an Audi SUV.
I think one way to overlook the stereotypical price tag of owning a BMW is, it really is, it's the smiles per gallon thing people say. Like, there's a lot of joy these cars give you, even though sometimes they're a pain in the ass to own because they're braking a lot, or people are saying they're braking.
Drive BMWs because they basically are the ultimate driving machine. No other cars drive like them. Combination of how they handle, how they accelerate, how they stop, it's just a great combination overall.